Aha! Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. It's Friday Night Live, but it's also Manchester United's preview for the Aston Villa game. Goldbridge is not wasted. That's not why I'm 10 minutes late. It's just Friday night and I was just doing something else. Take a chill pill. Lots to talk about. It's Q&A Friday Night Live. Friday Night Live, I always look forward to it. We will take some of your questions. Of course, we'll take lots of your questions. And we'll be talking about the Villa game. And look, I'm hearing things that Ronaldo might be rested for this game. So does Garnacho start? Rashford down the middle, Anthony back? We'll go through all of that and lots more. We'll also be talking about Aston Villa. Emery's first game in charge. What's he all about? Lots to talk about. But first of all, you might see that Coldbridge he's wearing a bit of bling. I'm wearing this. It's from Sanucci. It's my England pendant. Sanucci is an urban jewellery brand inspired by the British creative hip-hop, sport and fashion scene, as well as creating some amazing fashion pieces. They also make these amazing pendants for some of the biggest football clubs and national teams in the world. Sanucci want everyone to wear their pieces with confidence, so you can be sure that every time you buy them, you make a statement and people are going to notice you. You can see some of the winners that are wearing the Sanucci products, like myself, but also bigger names than that. James Maddison and KSI also sport Sanucci products. Sanucci has started its Black Friday deals early this year, so if you click on the link in the description or scan the QR code next to me with your phone, you can get a huge 80% off on selected items on the Sanucci store. So if you want to stand out as a fan of the Premier League this season or across the World Cup, scan the QR code or hit the link in the description and pick yourself up an awesome football pendant like mine or one of the many others on that site. And look, if you follow me on Twitch, you'll know that I wear these quite a lot. And they've got some fantastic ones. My personal favourite, the England one's nice, and it's very relevant for the World Cup. They've got Portugal. The Portugal one might be nice for the Ronaldo fans. Brazil, if you're a Casemiro fan. I don't know whether they've got France, but they've definitely got Portugal and Brazil. And the England one, there's some fantastic club ones. To be honest, my favourite Sanucci club ones are probably Juventus and the PSG one, and the Dortmund one is nice as well. So check them out, scan the QR code, or go through the link in the description, and you can get yours there. Coldbridge is dripped. Whatever. Look, they're nice. They are nice. Check them out. Savage, I don't know what you're talking about. I've just got a few people to get rid of here in the chat. I really am not interested in what other YouTubers are doing. I'm doing a Friday night show on the United Stand with my community, Mark Goldbridge and the United Stand. I'm not interested in what other people are doing. Do I look like I'm a fanboy of other YouTubers? No, I'm not interested. Would you take a punt on Ivan Toney, says the Bow Show? That's more like it. That's the sort of thing we want to talk about. And in fact, let me just get into this and just get rid of this word that I'm not interested in. Okay, so look, let's start off. Manchester United against Aston Villa. I do want to get into your questions because I love the vibrancy and feel of a Friday night show. It's about us. It's not about anything else. I'm not interested in anything else. So stop talking about anything else. I want to talk about us. I want to talk about Manchester United. I want to do a Q&A. I want to relax. We've all had a hard week. Let's get on with it. That's what we're here to do. Right, so Manchester United are playing Aston Villa on Sunday. Big game. There are some rumours going around that Ronaldo will be rested for this game. I use the word rested because it's not dropped. Ronaldo's played a lot of football. I think, some people would say he's not played particularly well. I disagree with that. I think he's done a job where others have been injured, and I think that's very, very important. But it's a massive game against Villa at the weekend. I was looking at this, and what might interest you about it is Villa have been very crap this season. And I can be blunt like that because it is Friday night and I've been somewhere and had something. Drink. But yeah, Villa have been very, very crap this season, but their home record, and it's very difficult. I think when we do a preview, you do talk about what their form is, how they've played. They've got a brand new manager. They've got Unai Emery. And the interesting thing there is that we can talk about Unai Emery, but we don't know how Villa are going to react to Unai Emery on Sunday. Brand new manager at Aston Villa, Villa Park, and they've had all week to prepare for this. So I expect high energy, high atmosphere, and a difficult job for Manchester United on Sunday. I think if we win on Sunday, it'll be a very significant result. But one thing that did catch my eye, did you know, this is the section I call Did You Know? Did you know that Aston Villa's home record isn't that bad? Away from home, their away record is second bottom, but their home record is mid-table. I think they've won 3, drawn 1, lost 2, scored 8 and conceded 5. Manchester United have scored 9 and conceded 4 at home this season. So they don't score particularly many at home, but they don't concede many either. So as bad as Villa's season's been, they're not really big conceders. And of course, even under Gerrard, they drew with Man City 1-1. So Villa Park, even before the sacking of Gerrard, wasn't particularly a bad place to go. Now, De Gea 10 United fans says a draw won't be a bad result. Of course, they do have Brazil, Sanucci, Wilfred. Of course, if we were to win on Sunday, there's a very good chance we'd be 4th. I think we could even be 3rd, because Newcastle are away to Southampton and Spurs are playing Liverpool. Now, if they drop points there and we win, we could go up to 3rd place. But it's not an easy tie. It's not an easy tie at all. And I feel that it's well worth just talking about Villa very briefly, because they have got a new manager. Now, Unai Emery, you should know a lot about Unai Emery, and I'm not talking for the Arsenal stuff. I'm talking about, the Yellow Submarine stuff, Villarreal. We've had plenty of connection with Villarreal, and I think the two things that stand out with me about Unai Emery when I think about him, and it's nothing to do with his dialect, is that his team are very quick on the counter. I think that's fair to say. They're very quick on the counter. They're also very well organised and they don't concede many goals. And basing him on Villarreal, who we've played quite a lot in the last few years, I always think, when I think about Unai Emery, I think about a pivot in the midfield. That's what I think about. I think about a pivot in midfield, and I think about possession. And when I think about when we played Villarreal last season, Coquelin or whoever they play in the midfield, Capoue, I think, plays for them as well. They're just very confident on the ball. They're just very good on the ball and confident on the ball in the midfield. And I think he will probably play a 4-2-3-1. It's very difficult to predict what he's going to play in his first game. It's very difficult to predict what they're going to do in their first game with him in charge. But I think they'll be well organised. I think they'll look to counter quickly. And I think it's going to be a really difficult game for us. I really do. Mark, how do we honestly see our season ending up? What would you be happy with come end of the season, says Daniel. You know what, Daniel? Honest answers on the table. And welcome to the Members Club, Paul Irwin. Honest answers on the table. I think it all comes down to what happens in January. I really do. I think it does. Top Gooner here, this channel is boring. You're an Arsenal fan, mate. I know why you hear that, because your own content shit. But yeah, we ain't boring, mate. We ain't boring. We go where others don't dare. Boring is not the word. Anyway, look, I think it will be a very interesting game on Sunday. I think it's very hard to predict what Villa will do in their first game, but we all know first manager bounce. We all know it's away from home. We all know Unai Emery's a good coach, and we all know they've had a week off, and we all know that we're very tired from Thursday. So, I think it's going to be tough. Am I the only one who thinks a midfielder is urgent? Eriksen isn't the answer for every opponent. He lacks an engine and he's not box to box, says Hamza. There seems to be a bit of focus on Eriksen, doesn't there? Maybe we can talk about that in a little bit. Hi, Mort. Not to down the mood, but got hit by a car today, broke my leg, but thank you to making my night. Good love from Stoke, watching from hospital. Sam, you know what? It's bad enough that you've broken your leg, but the fact that you're in Stoke makes it even worse. I'd have felt bad for you for breaking your leg. But the fact you're in Stoke and you broke your leg, that's even worse. That is. That's like that's like falling down the stairs and breaking your leg, and then a shelf, as you hit the wall, the shelf breaks and a load of books fall on your head. You just don't want to be in Stoke when you've had a day like that. Pray for Sam. Thoughts with Sam. I'm pissing with you, Sam. I'm pissing with you. Anyway, look, let's move on to let's just move Sanucci out the way here, because I just want to go through United lineup, of course. Predicted lineup, I suppose. This is what it is. So, look, this is how I think we'll line up on Sunday. De Gea in goal. Delo, Martinez. I think he'll pick Maguire. And I'm partly doing this because I do want to gift the 50 memberships I was going to gift last Sunday. But I do still think he's going to pick Maguire on Sunday. And I reckon I'm in the minority because of everything Ten Hag has said. And I completely agree that Ten Hag is massively hinting that Lindelof is going to be the partner for Martinez. But I just think Maguire will play. I can't get out of the groove that I think Ten Hag is going to take us out, that this club isn't still a little bit fixed. And what I mean by that is Maguire must play because he's the captain. I still think that exists in this club. And I suppose I'm in the minority, I know I am, and I'm just hoping on Sunday that I'm going to get proved wrong on that, because I think Lindelof should start with Martinez, but I still think there is a legacy of power at that football club where I just feel that Maguire will end up starting, and we'll have to wait and see whether I'm right on that. I've just got this hunch that Maguire will start on Sunday, and I'm not saying Maguire's terrible by any means. I personally don't think there's a lot of difference between Maguire and Lindelof, but I just think Maguire's going to start for whatever reason. But a lot of people saying Lindelof, and then maybe you will be right. I think he'll go with Casemiro, Fred and Eriksen. Obviously, Bruno is not available. He is suspended. Just a quick point about that. Dalot is 1 yellow card away from suspension as well. So it's not just the fact that we're overplaying Dalot. Of course, having to play every game, he will pick up a suspension, of course. So I think he'll go Casemiro, Fred and Eriksen. And for me, that's probably our best midfield three to go with. I think Casemiro, if you think about the Chelsea game away from home, we didn't play Fred, did we? But if you think about the Spurs game, we did. And I just think for a tired Manchester United side, Fred's got to play in this game. I know a lot of people don't rate Fred, but one thing he does do is bring energy to the team, and I think we need some fresh legs on Sunday. I don't think McTominay can do that role, so I think Fred has to play. And I agree with some people that Eriksen hasn't played that well recently, so give him a bit more freedom higher up the pitch where he doesn't have to do as much defensive work. I think he'll go with Ronaldo down the middle. I mean, look, obviously he could play Van der Beek and play Eriksen with Casemiro again. He might do that, but I don't think he will. I think Ronaldo will start on the bench for this game. I think he's played a lot of football, and I think it's a big turnaround to keep expecting Ronaldo to play Thursday night and Sunday lunchtime. And I do think against Sociedad, he showed that he likes to have a striker on the bench. Now, of course, there might be a different way of this, which I'll talk about in a minute. But I think he'll go Garnacho, Rashford, and I think Antony will be back. So I think that is how we will start against Villa on Sunday. Now, what I would say is, if Martial is back, I think Rashford will play off the left and Ronaldo play down the middle. But if Martial's not back, I think he'll put Ronaldo to the bench to give himself a striker who can come on for the last half an hour. I think he likes to do that. I don't think he likes starting Ronaldo and Rashford when he's got no other striker on the bench. If Martial's back, I think he'll start Ronaldo and put Rashford to the left, which I hope is the case. But if Martial isn't back, I think he'll put Ronaldo to the bench. So I think so much of it depends on Antony, Sancho and Ronaldo being back. Hamza says, if we think Aarons is a good backup, why not Laird? Says Hamza. Yeah, we spoke about that before. We could play Maguire as a striker, says Red Devils. Well, it does free him up if we play Lindelof at the back. How do I think the game will go? I really do think it's going to be a tough one. I think if we're going to win it, we'll win it like we did on Thursday. I think we'll nick a goal like we did against Leicester and like we did against Southampton. I think we'll win it 1-0. I do agree with a lot of people that it could be a draw. But you know what? I've got to say this. I think at some point we're going to concede first, and we've got to be very, very careful, because I don't think we are capable of being done like we were against Brentford. I think that was just, there's a multitude of reasons why that happened. We didn't have Casemiro then. I think we were naive. I think we were trying to be something we shouldn't have been that early in the season. But I do think that we could be on the... I just get the sense that we might be on the border of a bad result effectively, to be blunt, a loss, because I think we're playing too much football. I think we are playing too much football, and I think that at some point we're going to catch a team who has had a week off, who is a lot fresher than us, and it could be this Sunday. But it's either a draw or a narrow win for me. I don't think we'll get beat on Sunday, although I've just said it is a possibility. Of course it is. I think I'm going to go with a draw. I think I'm going to go 1-1. Ultimately, Mark, the squad issues are down to the Glazers, so it's effing frustrating. Literally, the only solution is investment in the team. Yeah, I agree with that. I thought that the summer transfer window was enough. I think we brought enough players in, but you've got to follow that up in January and next summer. I completely agree. Everton and Ammonia, we conceded first as Cobra. Yeah, but you're not listening, are you? What I'm saying is, I feel that you're being too literal there. I'm going to call you John Grisham in a minute, or Andy McNabb, or Andy McNob, because you're just being literal, like an author. What I'm saying is, I'm not saying when we concede first we're going to lose a game. What I'm saying is, at the moment, I sense that this team is coming towards the end of its cycle. It's tired. It is tired. I thought we were very tired against West Ham, and I found that West Ham result very odd, because I think that if you look at the previous two Premier League games against Chelsea and Spurs, we were bang on it, and against West Ham we just didn't have the energy, and there was that sort of confusion about whether it was lack of energy or tactical. And we were somewhat lucky against West Ham as well. I mean, look, the defence got us out of jail there, didn't it? I think we looked tired last night, especially in the last half an hour. And I just don't see where we're going to get the energy back for the game against Villa. And what I mean is that, and Cobra, makes a good point. We did go behind Ammonia and Everton, but I feel that Everton was a month ago, wasn't it? 3 weeks ago. I just don't think we've got. I think we're so reliant on our defence at the moment, and then let's grab a goal at the other end. I mean, we're not scoring many goals, and this is not being discussed. 1-0 to us is Tumbleweed. Yeah, I think if we win 1-0 or 2-1. I don't think we go there and win 2 or 3-0. I don't think we're capable of that. But I think that we're not scoring many goals. Like I said, Aston Villa have had a bad season. They've scored 8 goals at home and they've conceded 5. And we've had a much better season, but we've only scored 1 more goal than them. We're not scoring enough goals. We're not scoring enough goals. And one thing that I really do agree with, and I think someone said it on the show a couple of nights ago, we could really do with putting a team to bed early. You're not watching the news. You're not watching the second half. You're going to bed. 9 o'clock, bedtime. Well, on Sunday, 3 o'clock, bedtime, half time, put the game to bed. That's what I want to say. Get your pyjamas on, Emery. Get into bed. You're grounded. That's what I want to see. We don't do enough of that this season, which leads to, in most games, having to defend well in the last 10, 15 minutes. And at some point, we will get a dodgy deflection or something. And I'm just a little bit... I'm just dropping it out there. It might be the beer talking, it might be complete nonsense, but I just sense that we're tired, and that's an excuse. We have played a lot of games. I sense we're tired, and I sense if we catch a team, and look, I'll give you a scenario now, what I'm basically talking about. We play Villa on Sunday. They're energetic, new manager at Villa Park, had a week off. They're energetic, they start well. I mean, Sociedad did it to us last night. They start well. I don't know. Coutinho hits a shot, it deflects off Lindelof's arse. De Gea's dived the other way, goes in the bottom corner, 1-0. Next attack, they get a corner, headed it in straight from the corner. We're 2-0 down after half an hour. I don't see us coming back from that at the moment. That's what I'm saying. I think we're physically and mentally very tired. And I don't think we've got the ability to go and score 2 or 3 goals against anyone at the moment. So I think to get a result on Sunday, we're going to have to build on the defence again, of course. 4 points from the last 2 games is job done in my eyes, says Charlie Max. Yeah, I mean, 6 would be fantastic. You've got to look at Manchester United. Start getting the questions in. I want to do the Q&A bit now. That's what it's all about. I feel that you look at... I mean, I'm trying to figure out how far to go back here. So Everton was 3 points. Newcastle was a point, 4. I don't know how I'm going to figure this out. 4 points, beat Chelsea, beat Spurs. So 4 points, beat Spurs, 7 points. Drew Chelsea, 8 points. Beat West Ham, 11 points. Yeah? Can't think of anyone else we've messed up. So in our last 5 games, we've taken 11 points from 15. I think if we could take 2 more wins, that would be 17 from 21. Be very, very good. That's the sort of thing that we've got to take. I think the next 2 games are going to be difficult as well. It's Fulham away as well, isn't it, after that? Ronaldo, Donny, Sancho, gone in January, buy 4 new players. As Keel. Bloody hell, that's never going to happen. Never going to happen. Also, happy Friday, mate. Thanks for all the content. Can I get a birthday shout out for my 23rd? Going for a 3-0 win on Sunday to welcome Emery back, says Sean O'Rourke. Happy birthday, Sean. I'd love for a 3-0 win on Sunday. I mean, at some point, I think we will hand someone their arse on a plate and smash them up. But I think that... I don't know. I hope I'm over-egging the pudding here. I do. I hope I am. I think that... But maybe Man United go there... Look at last season. When we went there last season with Rangnick, we were 2-0 up at half-time. I think we were 2-0 up with 20 minutes to go. And we just fell apart, didn't we, in the second half, in the last 20 minutes. And it ended up 2-2, and we should have beat them. I think that was probably our best away performance last season, was probably Villa. So we've got a good record at Villa Park. I'm going to throw this in. I've been waiting to do this. Villa haven't beaten us at Villa Park in the Premier League for about 900 years. I think it's 909. But no, seriously, they've got a terrible... I know a lot of Villa fans, and they always say that. We've got a terrible record against you. And I think deep down, they're like, this is the week, this is the year, this is the year. But they've got a terrible record against us. So we've got a good record against Villa, and that can play on the minds. That can play on the minds. Mikael Roach, thank you very much for the super chat. But essentially, I think it's going to be a hard game on Sunday. And we're going to need our wits about us. Yeah, definitely. Do you think Erik ten Hag will pick Lindelof instead of Delo at right back for a rest, says Amal? I think that would be a massive mistake. I do think that would be a mistake. You've got to play Delo at right back. Striker and attacking midfielder in January to secure top four, says Leo. Thoughts on Van der Beek and how many more opportunities he deserves to prove himself, says Ranks. Well, I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about Eriksen, because I spoke about Van der Beek on the press conference reaction at lunchtime. And look, listen to what Ten Hag said. Donny van der Beek hasn't been fit all season until now. He played 15 minutes last week and he's played about an hour last night. Let's see where we are at the end of the season with Donny van der Beek. It's too much. It's too many people are writing him off too soon. I think it's going to be difficult, but it's too much too soon. What I'd like to talk about is Christian Eriksen. Hi Mark, cheers from Prague, says Philippe. My friend Patrick wants to know what you think about Vlahovic. Would you like to see us buying him? Have we been linked to him, says Philippe. Well, very good striker. Arsenal were very close to getting him in January and he chose Juventus. Juventus are terrible and he may well look for a move. I think he's the sort of striker that Erik ten Hag would like, but are United in for him? Not at the moment. The Nash says, does Mark see our chats? No, I've got this power of not looking at the chats but reading them out. It's amazing. It's just so coincidental. I don't even have the live chat on, but I can read people's chats. So, sarcastic, Bridge. I do want to talk about Eriksen because I think a lot of people have spoken about Eriksen. And I thought, when I was doing the watch-along last night, I thought it was really interesting how many people were getting on Eriksen's back. But I think Eriksen's been a really good signing for Manchester United. But I can't ignore the fact that there have been games where he's been bad. I mean, look at the Brentford game. He was bloody rubbish. I don't think he was very good last night. And there was another game where I didn't think he was particularly good. Maybe it was the West Ham game. I don't remember. But I think there's two things again with Eriksen, I would say. First of all, I think I don't know how many of you are members and how many people watched the video I put up today for the members, exclusively for the members, which was comparing Casemiro across things like interceptions, opposition half recoveries, aerial duels, successful defensive actions, passes per 90. And Eriksen was very low in all of them. And what you can say, it's a good video to watch, but what you can say about Eriksen, because it was about Casemiro, so I can say this about Eriksen, is that Eriksen is not particularly physical. He's not particularly good at tackling. He's not particularly good at winning the ball back, and he's very, very poor at aerial duels. So his defensive side is not that good. This myth that he's a good box-to-box midfielder, which is what we're asking him to do, is a myth. What Eriksen is good at doing is receiving the ball in a deeper position and feeding the attack. That's where Eriksen's been a rip-roaring success for us this year, is that he's not really great at winning the ball back or anything like that. I mean, look at the goal that Arsenal scored that maybe should have been given. He's caught on the ball, a little nudge, and was it Odegaard wins it off him and they go and score? Thankfully, it was disallowed. But his physical defensive side isn't very good at all. He is in that team to feed, I suppose it might be the De Jong role, to feed the attack, to feed the number 10. I think Eriksen probably is a number 10, playing as a number 8. So look, I think the jury might well be out on Eriksen as a defensive sort of player, especially when you're playing against a team like a Man City, where again he was very, very poor. I don't personally. What I'm trying to say in a very elongated way is if we were playing Man City tomorrow or Liverpool at Anfield, I wouldn't play Eriksen unless you were playing him as a number 10, because you know you're going to defend a lot. So why play Eriksen with Casemiro? You're better off playing Fred, because at least you know he can tackle and stuff. There's no point playing Eriksen because you're not going to have a lot of the ball. But I think the second thing to say about Eriksen is that he's still a very, very important player for us in that link between the midfield and the attack. And let's not forget, I think sometimes it's stereotypical because of what happened with his heart condition and his age. People say, oh, he's just tired. He's playing too many games. Like, his heart condition doesn't mean that he can only play one game a week. If that was the issue, he wouldn't be allowed to play football at all. I don't think his heart condition has got anything to do with how much football time he can play. And I think he'd be find that quite offensive. Maybe his age has got something to do with that. But again, I think that's quite offensive. I just think it's the fact that he's a very important player for Ten Hag. And like Delo, he's basically playing nearly every game every 3 or 4 days. And I think that impacts on anybody, whether you're 31 or 21. So I do agree that there are weaknesses to Eriksen's game defensively and physically. But I also think he's playing a lot of football. And we've seen it with Delo. Delo had a little dip for 2 or 3 games and then he's come back. I think that maybe Eriksen's just being overplayed. And I feel that last night he played 20 minutes too much. It was very clear after an hour that he was just having a bad night and he should have been took off. But I think he stayed on for quite a lot longer than that. Matt, thank you very much and welcome to the Members Club. Keep the questions coming in. You said last season you'd sell Rashford to PSG. Would you still do this? I think he's improved, but he believes the hype after one game needs consistency, says Rory. Oh, you know what, Rory? It's Friday night, so let's go for it. I've seen it. People sometimes send me stuff, and I'm not really bothered about being clipped up. I mean, I had a right tantrum on Twitch this afternoon. I'm amazed I haven't seen that on social media yet. I basically stormed off. But I find it funny when the best football analysis is to live in the moment, isn't it? I mean, Gerard Piqué was an ex-Manchester United player. He wasn't here for very long, and he certainly didn't play to the levels he went to do at Barcelona here. But I was listening to bloody Jermaine Pendant and Jamie O'Hara on TalkSport saying that Piqué was the worst player in that team and, he wasn't even that good. Messi and Iniesta and all this lot. And I was just like, what are you even talking about? What are you even talking about? Piqué wasn't a good defender because he had Messi playing in his team. Messi didn't help Piqué defend corners with his height or read the game or pass out from the back or be quick. Piqué was a very, very, very good defender. And I think that it's important that you stay true to what you are as a football fan. But we will all change our opinions based on form. Form is temporary, class is permanent, is that saying, isn't it? And you have to go with the trends. Of course you do. Of course you do. I mean, a lot of people at the moment think Trent Alexander-Arnold is a crap right back. I still think he's one of the world's best attacking right backs. Defensively, he's always been a bit suspect. It's Marmite, isn't it? Do you like Trent Alexander-Arnold or don't you like Trent Alexander-Arnold? And you'll make your choice and swing which way you want to swing based on that. And both arguments are valid. I think he's world-class going forward, but defensively he's a bit suspect. But people just sort of want to go back to an opinion you had 6 months ago and pin it to the mast, so to speak. I don't really care whether people clip me up, and I'm sure you don't really care if someone comes back to you and says, well, you said this 6 months ago. I mean, it's ridiculous, isn't it? Like 6 months ago, you might have been in the best relationship you've ever had, and then 6 months later, you might have met someone better. Well, you said you loved me 6 months ago. Well, I don't now. I found someone better than you. Give me back my cash card. Get out my life. It's blunt but fair. So when people say to me, oh, in the summer, you were saying Rashford should be sold. And now you're saying he's good. Yes, I am. No, but you didn't. No. Can I just stop you? I've admitted what you've just said. Oh, wow. You're a flip-flop. I say you're an idiot. What do you mean? I said, so when everybody was saying Rashford needed to be sold in the summer, you were saying keep him, were you? Yes, I was. Why? Because I love him. Fine. You're not a football fan. You're a brand fan. Like, I like Rashford, but in the summer, I'd watched him for the last 18 months and he was crap. And I felt that he needed a change for him and we needed a change for us. Nobody could predict this was going to happen. We can hope it, but no one could predict it was going to happen. What has happened has been remarkable on the part of Ten Hag and Marcus Rashford, and there's real hope that we can start to get the Rashford back of 2 or 3 years ago. But in the summer, I felt that it might be time for a change for him and for us. I stand by it. I'm wrong because Ten Hag and Rashford have proved me wrong, but I still stand by what I said in the summer because that was a different time. I don't think our box-to-box should be able to break the lines and be physical and defend, kind of like Ten Hag's top target last summer. Says, don't you think our box-to-box should be able to break the lines and be physical and defend, says Hamza. I think Christian Eriksen's a really... interesting player because he was never being brought here to be a bench player like Juan Mata. He was always going to be a fundamental part of the team. Can I just say this? If we'd bought De Jong, what would have happened with Eriksen? And I love football and I love investigation. I've got a very investigative mind. Bergerac, Morse, Columbo, Hetty Wainthropp, Rosemary and Thyme, great detectives. Happy birthday, Jason, says Hader. But I think that the way I analyse football when I'm watching football and thinking about lineups is very different to the investigative side of football. And what I mean by that is, if you consume football like I do and many of you do, it's not just the football, it's the transfer, it's the club politics. And these are the sort of things that get me excited. Not in that way, not at all, but in a passionate football way, which is that it's very clear that Ten Hag wanted Eriksen all summer and early in the summer. And it's very clear that Ten Hag was going to use Eriksen in his first 11. But alongside that, it's very clear that Erik Ten Hag wanted Frankie de Jong. And if he'd got Frankie de Jong, he would have picked Frankie de Jong. But it's also very clear that you would never, no matter how confident you are in your own style of play, you could never, ever, ever, ever play Frankie de Jong and Christian Eriksen as your midfield two pivots. You couldn't do that. It would get annihilated in the Premier League. So either Ten Hag was planning on doing that, which would have been career suicide, or, and this is what I do think, I think that Christian Eriksen was going to be playing as a number 10 and Frankie de Jong was going to play in the Christian Eriksen role. That's what I think the plan was. And people will go, but what would have happened to Bruno? And the answer is I don't know and we'll never know because we didn't get Frankie de Jong. But I absolutely do not think that Frankie de Jong, Christian Eriksen and Bruno would have worked at all. I think it would have been the equivalent of, legs wide open and let's go for it. I think that it just wouldn't have worked. So I actually think that if we got Frankie de Jong and we got Eriksen, I think that midfield would have been very interesting to see. I prefer what we've got now. I do prefer what we've got now. Mark, in statistics, this is called Bayesian thinking. Changing beliefs as new information comes in. The internet mob could do with some of it, says Rabbit. I mean, I don't know. Look, I don't know. I think that we could talk all night about that nonsense that you get on social media, but I think the way the world's going and the way society's going, that free thinking is just sort of disappearing. It's becoming very dictatorial, and people just want to hang everybody out to dry for any opinion that they can find that where they think they can make them look stupid. But like, I'm sure many of you are the same, especially the older people. Life. The biggest lessons in life for me are falling down and climbing back up again. Like learning from your mistakes. That's what it's all about. And I think the one thing I would say about football, and I think anybody would say in football, whether it's Sir Alex Ferguson, Jose Mourinho, or Tony Pulis, or Lionel Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, or James Ward-Prowse, is that it's always changing, it's always adapting. You can think something's finished and then you just never know what's going to happen. You can be 2-0 up with 10 minutes to go and you can lose the game 3-2. You just do not know. It's very unpredictable. And therefore, in a very unpredictable, competitive environment, things can change. And this is why De Gea is the prime example. That I've always had total faith in David De Gea. I've always never wanted to get rid of him. But I've admitted to you on the shows before, I don't know whether he'll be here next year. I didn't know because I know that Ten Hag wants to play out from the back, and I didn't know whether De Gea could step up. I knew he'd improve. I didn't know whether he would do what he's done so far. But what I never understood is why people wrote him off. and ignored what he is as a goalkeeper and sort of made him the problem. That sort of thinking is just odd. That's player FC stuff, and I can't do that. I mean, look, Cristiano Ronaldo, I love Cristiano Ronaldo. I always will do. It was the same with Roy Keane, Vidic. You always have your favourites, but I'm not blinded by my favourites. Like, I like Martial, I like Rashford, I've criticised them. I like Bruno, I've criticised them. The standard always has to be high, but yeah, I think that, as I always say, you've got the traffic light system, haven't you? You've got red for negativity, green for positivity, and amber in between. I like to live my life amber because I think then you can see the negatives, see the positives, but be a bit realistic. I think that player FC is just green or red. It's like, I don't like that player or I love that player, and they never want to move from that no matter what. I've seen people who are United fans, I don't know why I'm doing that because they are United fans, and they cannot see a bad pass from their player. They cannot see a bad miss, a bad tackle, a bad mistake, because that's their player and they'll stay by it no matter what. It doesn't. If their player has a bad game, they didn't have a bad game. It was somebody else who had a worse game. And then a player they don't like can score a hat-trick and still be shit. Or they can save 20 shots but play a bad pass and they're shit. And that's just, I hope that doesn't become prevalent, because I think that's not football for me. That's just some sort of new thing that's come around in the last probably 10, 15 years, where people just support players or managers and not clubs, really. Mark, you always said you believe there is a player in Rashford, even though you wanted him to go. Don't let them track you like that. Vengeance, I know what I've said. I know what many of you've said. And, that's the whole point of choosing to watch this channel or not watch this channel, because when you're live as much as we are and we're interacting as much as we are, it's very hard. Look, you look at Gabby Agbonlahor on Talk Sport. One day he says one thing, the next day he says another thing. Oh, I think that Ronaldo's a load of crap. Oh, he's the best player in the world. You'll get caught out. But we're live every day. Do you realise how hard it would be to just be a flip-flop or an actor or anything like that? Because you'd wrap yourself up. When you're talking as much as we are together and interacting as much as we are together, whether it's people doing super chats or people in the chat, you get to know the names. I get to know the names. And you subconsciously pick up on who likes what, people like Robert McCormack, etc. And you can't con people. I think United fans are clever. I think our community is very, very clever. And, I probably get asked about Rashford 10 times a week across various shows. Everybody knows who watches this channel what I think about Rashford. I've always said he's one of my favourite players. I've always said I think there's a player in there. But in the summer, I did start to think it was time to move on, because I thought that, he needs to change and we need to change. The change is actually Ten Hag. People just take criticism personally instead of looking at it objectively, says Min. And you rather go on a night out with Fred or McTominay, says Rory. I'm washing my hair that night. Frankie de Jong, are you real? Says Althox. Joel Glazer said with ambitious plan. Ruth says Joel Glazer said with ambitious plans for investment at Old Trafford, the strengthening of our engagement with fans and continued drive towards our most important objective, winning on the pitch. Right, it's the same old shit with the Glazers, isn't it? Our objective is to win on the pitch, but it's not. Your objective is to make money. I think he's benefited from good coaching, says Alistair Robertson. Look, Rashford's not the only one. If I was a player and Manchester United wanted me, a year ago, I'd have said no. Not me personally, but just any player. I'd go to Man United. I'd walk to Man United. It's my club. I'm sure many of you would. But I think probably for the last 6 years, maybe the last 7, 8 years, we've had a problem really being attractive to players. I think that's changing. And I think that's changing because of Ten Hag. The football world is very insular. What you see publicly isn't what you see privately. United's reputation in the football world isn't great. It's not great. We've not got a good reputation. The Glazers are seen as bad owners. Negotiation skills are seen as circus-like. But I'll tell you what is changing. And look, for the last 3 years, Solskjaer wasn't respected in the world of football either. People didn't think he was a very good coach. So But now you've got Ten Hag, who's respected in the game. Pep Guardiola respects him. Jurgen Klopp respects him. He's respected. And when you're respected like that, players become intrigued by you and think, actually, you know what? I wouldn't mind being coached by him. And he's at Manchester United. So when people talk about Rashford, I'd throw Anthony Martial in there. I'd throw Scott McTominay in there. I'd throw Lindelof in there. I'd throw quite a lot of players in there. In fact, you can probably throw most of our players in there because something needed to change at the end of last season. Hallelujah. Something needed to change because that was the worst ever Premier League side we've ever been. We didn't even get 60 points. That's abysmal. It's embarrassing. It's disgraceful. It's vulgar. It makes you want to throw up. Last May was the lowest point this club's been in. No trophies for 5 years, no title for 10 years, and no 60 points for the first time ever, I think. Terrible season. Absolute rock bottom. And people don't think that because nobody wants to look back 5 minutes, let alone 5 months. But hello and welcome to Idiotsville, and I don't live there. I said this the other day. There was somebody on Twitter, I wish I knew who it was. And they were like, "This. I don't know what player it was. I think it might, let's say it was Rashford, because we're talking about Rashford. And basically, they put a tweet out after one game recently when Rashford scored. So probably West Ham, wasn't it? And did he score against West Ham? I can't remember. I'm so tired. Didn't we beat West Ham 1-0? He did score against West Ham, didn't he? Yeah, it was the Eriksen goal. So I think it was after the Eriksen goal, after that game, somebody tweets, all those people who said to sell Rashford in the summer can sit down. Don't want to hear you welcoming him back now. And I thought, go and do one. Go and have a big swivel, because that is ridiculous. You are such a recency, fair weather, sensationalist fan. You can piss off. You can get out. Because I know what it was like 5 months ago. You know what it was like 5 months ago. We were a bloody disgrace. The club was on its knees. It had more holes than a hedgehog's pillow. It was toxic. It was the worst ever points tally we've had in Premier League history. And in the fallout of that, many of us went through the whole squad and were like, I'd sell him. It's time for him to go. I mean, it's not like it. What I'm trying to say is it's not a shock that at the start of the summer, most of you were voting to get rid of Martial. Well, I've got something to tell to you. Get out, my club. Most of you said get rid of Martial. Get out. Don't you be celebrating his goals. Don't you be giving him a second chance because he's doing well. Get out. You said get rid of him in the summer, so get out. You said sell Rashford. Get out. You know, you said at all costs keep hold of Ronaldo and he stormed off. You look an idiot there. Get out. It's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense because people want to live in the now. They don't want to look at the evidence. And at the end of last season, I don't think anybody, apart from David De Gea and Cristiano Ronaldo, was above recourse. Therefore, I don't think anybody other than Cristiano Ronaldo and David De Gea could honestly sit there and say, when fans are talking about me, they might say it's time for me to go. It's the truth, isn't it? Something needed to change. Something needed to change. And whether you look at Anthony Martial or Marcus Rashford or Bruno Fernandes or whoever, something big needed to change. And something big needed to change could have been the sacrificial lamb where you sell them, or it's what we've had. Something big needed to change, and something big did change. And his name's Erik Ten Hag. That is the big change. Somebody's come into that club and probably defied what many of us thought was possible. Not only has he bought well, he's also improved players that many of us were thinking it might be time to go. And look, I don't know why people are talking about Rashford. The vast majority said, let's get rid of Martial. And I think if he hadn't been injured, Martial's upward turn would be bigger than anyone's. It would be bigger than De Gea's, it would be bigger than Deleu's, and it would be bigger than Rashford's, because that was a player that was booed, if I remember correctly, in January. Oh, we've all forgotten about that, though, haven't we? We've forgotten about that. We've swept that under the carpet. We don't want to talk about that. Martial was booed in January. He was booed at Old Trafford in January. But we forgot about that now. Get out of my club. Get out of my club. Slagged off by ex-players, the media. even certain fans, get rid of him, get out of my club. Then something big changed, and his name was Erik ten Hag. And instead of that big change being sell him and let him go and build his career somewhere else, we get a new manager in who comes in and builds their career here. So I'm not here for that. I'm not here for this whole you said this, you said that. The reality is we're all hypocrites because we all said some big things at the end of last season and during through last season, which, to be honest, were right because it was the worst ever season we've had. The person who takes responsibility for these amazing turnarounds at this point is Erik ten Hag. Pally says, I loved the podcast you did with Ben Foster that came out this week. Would you do more content like that for the United Stand? Look, mate, it's a bit of a shame, that podcast, because normally it's on the Fozcast YouTube channel. But because it's with Spotify, and Spotify have now launched Spotify Video, they've had to upload that whole podcast on Spotify. And I know not everyone's got Spotify. So it was a really good interview because, and I can say this on a show tonight, it was a really good interview because I was asked a lot about the story of the United Stand, how it started, which some of you know, what advice I'd give to people, what I think about the industry, what the future is. I don't normally get to answer those sort of things, and it was really good. You know, what I think about, you know, United players, what United players have interacted with me, other footballers, you know, why I don't do certain things anymore in the mainstream or with things that I've done in the past. I really enjoyed it. It was a really good interview. It's a shame it didn't get uploaded to YouTube on the Fozcast. They've done a little clip about McTominay and Fred blocking me, which we all know anyway. But the whole 50 minutes, I haven't even listened it back to it myself yet because I haven't got Spotify. So if it had been on YouTube, I'd have watched it myself. So yeah, check it out if you can find it. It's on the Fozcast on Spotify to listen to. But it's also the full videos on Spotify Video. So yeah, check it out. So I am going to listen to it myself at some point, but it's not as easy as listening to it on YouTube, I agree. And hopefully my podcast will be starting soon. I've got a couple of irons in the fire. I'm just trying to sort of... what I would say is, and we'll show it you first to the members because that's what I always promise to do. But got some really exciting stuff to show you in the next couple of weeks. None of it's sexual, so don't get worried or excited. Stewie, thank you very much. My prediction for Villa versus Man United, Jay, is 1-1. I hope we can win it, but 1-1. Louis is going to watch it after. I really want to listen to it, but I haven't got Spotify. So how do I do it? Do I have to log in or something? But there is going to be I think there's going to be a Goldbridge podcast, which will be like my going for Goldbridge and stuff, because I write so much down all the time, like normal life stuff. What was it I wrote down the other day? Oh yeah, it's not football related. No, I won't do it because it's not football related. Did you see that Iqbal is watching Frank de Jong video now? He used to watch Zidane, says Zuls. Well, that's normal behaviour, mate. That's normal behaviour. You know, I was coaching somebody a few weeks ago, and I watched them playing a game, and I said to them afterwards, I'm not saying you are Zidane, but the way you play football at amateur level, I always think that anybody I ever watch, and I've done this from a very young age, anybody I watch, I always can see bits of people's games in it. And I said, I can see bits of like Zidane in you and what you do. It's a very amateur level. And he said to me, I really appreciate that because you are the GOAT and everything you... No, he didn't say that. He said, no, I really appreciate that because I spend so much of my time watching Zidane videos. He's my favourite player. And I said, but you can see the influence of it. So, and a lot of players do that. Casemiro has been great, says Skull Crushers. You have to make an account and look up the podcast. Most of the podcasts I listen to aren't hard to find, so I don't think Ben's will be either. Yeah, you'll just type in Fozcast and you'll find it. What are your thoughts about where we're going to finish in the league, says Mikkel. I like that question. Where do you think we're going to finish in the league? Please smash a like on the video, by the way. I love a Friday night show. Where do I think we're going to finish in the league? Wherever we are in the league come the end of this break of Fulham and then the World Cup is not going to define where we're going to be. My concern is the run of games we've got between January and May. It's ridiculous. And I would argue with anybody who says, don't be worried about it, we'll be fine. Have we been fine over the last few weeks? We've only started playing football in August and we're now in October. So 3 months we've played football. And in that time, we've lost Maguire, Rashford, Donny van der Beek, Wan-Bissaka, Varane, Martial 3 times, Anthony, Sancho in 3 months. What's going to happen when they've been playing for 6 months and then they come back and they've got to play 3 times a week for 5 months? That's what worries me. If we're talking on, if somebody said to me now, Ten Hag will basically be able to pick his best team for most of the next until May, I'd say we've got a very good chance of top 4. But if what I fear is going to happen and we're going to get loads and loads of disruption and injury and all sorts, I just think it's going to be a bit of a free for all, and ultimately it will come down to who has the best January transfer window and who gets more lucky with injury. Now you can't. Like, people are saying 4th. Like, let's do a bit of a poll. And I'm just going to keep it very, very, very simple. Yes or no, will United get top 4? Chart shows tomorrow, by the way. Chart shows coming out tomorrow. Will United get top 4? Now, this is my answer. And it changes. I always get asked about this when I do the football fill-in on a Monday with Ben Foster on his channel. And I have not committed to United getting top 4. You know I haven't. I've not committed. I said at the start of the season I don't think we will, and I've been pretty consistent that I don't think we will. Mark, play on player, pump it up. Pump it up. You've got to pump it up, says Gary Lacey. Alexa, play Diamond Lights by Glenn Hoddle and Chris Waddle. If that goes off in someone's house, I'd laugh, but I won't know. Man City are getting top 4. Arsenal are getting top 4. 2 spots are up for grabs. Spurs, Chelsea, us, Liverpool, Newcastle. They're the only 5 teams that can get those 2 spots. Spurs, I think, are vulnerable. I do. I don't mind Spurs, but I think they're vulnerable. Chelsea are going to spend a lot of money in January, but if they lose to Arsenal at the weekend, we might be able to open a bit of a gap on them, so they're vulnerable. Liverpool are quite a few points behind us, so they're vulnerable. And Newcastle are Newcastle. So, yeah, we could get top 4. But the real Alexa turned on for a few people. Yes, listen to it. It's a great song. But on the other hand, I think Liverpool are going to get top 4. I've got a £100 bet with Ben Foster for charity that they'll get top 4. I think they will get top 4. So that's one of the spots gone in my mind. Chelsea will spend well in January, and it doesn't take long, as we've seen and Newcastle have seen, for a good manager to start turning things round. So if Potter's a success at Chelsea, they'll start winning games soon, consistently. So that's another threat for top 4. And Newcastle will spend in January, have already got a good team, and they're not in Europe. So they're going to be a lot fresher. And Spurs are still hanging around. So you could easily say we're going to get top 4. Or you could be like me and go, I'm not so sure. I think Liverpool will come back. I think Chelsea are going to be strong. I think Newcastle haven't got any European football. I think it's going to come down to the January transfer window. And I would agree with Tumbleweed, who says if we don't buy in January, we'll be looking to get 5th. I cannot overemphasise this point. I think Ten Hag is the right man. I've seen glimpses of how good we can be. But I think this is a horrible season to be managing Manchester United. I mean, I'd want to do it. I'm sure Ten Hag wants to do it. I'm sure all you want to do it. But the competition for top 4 is probably bigger than it's ever been. Like, we've literally got 7 teams going for top 4. Not 6, 7. Normally you've got 4 or 5. Sometimes you're even in the top 4 and you know you're going to be in the top 4 because a couple of those top 6 teams are shit. There's 7 teams going for it at the moment. And I'd say 4 of them are going to spend in January. So, and if we pick up in... Look, if we lose... The problem we've got... And look, Newcastle haven't had St Maximin, and he's probably their best player, and they've still won loads of games. The problem we've got... I think we're seeing it without Varane. That's a problem. If we lose Martinez, that's a huge problem. If we lose Casemiro, that's a huge problem. There's 3 or 4 teams in that... There's 3 or 4 players in that United side that we just can't lose. So... on top four at the moment. And look, it's great to see that 70% of you are being positive and saying yes. I'm here for that. For me, if I had to bet on it, I'm still saying no, we won't get top four. And I'll tell you why. It's not because I'm negative. It's not for any reason that I don't trust the board to do what needs to be done in January. If someone said to me, you're going to buy 2 players in January and Ten Hag's going to have the freedom to get those players, I think we will get top four. But even if we did get 2 players in January, somebody tell me how you can predict we're going to get top four when from January to May, we're playing 3 times a week for 5 months. That's relentless. It's a killer. And I don't know how we're going to manage that. Silverbridge, perhaps a gold chain tomorrow, says Chance. Yeah. Don't forget to check these out. Sanucci, they've got 80% off on selected items. This is the England pendant. The Portugal one's nice. The Brazil one's nice. They've got some fantastic club ones as well. I really like the Dortmund one and the PSG one. Check them out. Sanucci, links in the description, or you can scan the QR code. I've really enjoyed the show tonight. I hope you have as well. Big weekend for Manchester United, of course. I'll be back on the morning show tomorrow morning, funnily enough. Take care, everyone. Hope you've enjoyed the show. Stay safe, and I'll speak to you in a bit. Don't forget to check out Sanucci on your way out. I'll speak to you all in a bit. And don't forget to join the members club because the Casemiro video was brilliant. Give it a watch. Speak to you in a bit. Right. I'm off to watch the Bake Off.